You were taught to be kind. You were taught to be patient. You were taught to be good. But no one warned you, being too good might be the reason no one respects you. This is not a lesson in becoming cruel. This is a guide to thinking like a leader, through Confucian wisdom. There is a type of suffering that many kind-hearted people carry, but rarely admit. It is not the pain of failure, nor the pain of loss. It is the pain of being overlooked, used, dismissed while doing everything right. You treat others with respect. You keep your word. You show up. You help without asking for anything in return. And yet, life keeps handing you silence. Or worse, people mistake your goodness for weakness. They step over you. They take what you offer and disappear. You start to wonder, does being a good person still matter? Confucius never promised that goodness alone would bring rewards. He taught that virtue without clarity becomes self-sacrifice. That benevolence without structure invites chaos. And that true leadership does not emerge from impulse, it emerges from order, restraint, and intentionality. You may think leadership is reserved for the assertive, the loud, or the powerful. But in the eyes of Confucius, leadership begins with the self. It is not about ruling others. It is about ruling your thoughts, your responses, and your values, especially when the world gives you no applause for doing so. The world does not always reward the kind. It rewards those who know when to be still, when to speak, and when to hold the line. That is why the wisdom of Confucius still echoes today, not as a set of rigid rules, but as a blueprint for personal sovereignty. If you want to stop being seen as a victim, if you want to rise from self-doubt into clarity, then let us begin. These are the 13 ways to think like a leader, not a victim, through the lens of Confucian wisdom. 1. Think in hierarchies, not in emotions. The noble man seeks clarity. The petty man seeks comfort. Confucius taught that those who dwell in emotions stay small. When you live from reaction, you are led by every insult, every delay, every perceived slight. The victim thinks, I am angry, therefore I must respond. I am hurt, therefore someone must pay. But the leader pauses. He asks, is this useful? Does this serve the greater aim? Is my energy better placed elsewhere? The world is not governed by fairness. It is governed by patterns, priorities, and position. Emotional reactivity is the language of those without structure. And structure is what allows a leader to be calm while others are chaotic. To think hierarchically means you have an internal order of importance. Your principles come before your preferences. Your mission comes before your mood. Your vision comes before your vindication. People may call this cold. Confucius would call it disciplined. You can feel deeply and still lead wisely, if you do not place emotion on the throne. A leader understands that some battles are beneath him not because they are easy to win, but because they are not worth fighting. The goal is not to win every argument. The goal is to win yourself back. 2. Speak with purpose, not for approval. The noble man is slow to speak, but quick to act. The modern world rewards noise. People speak first, reflect later, if at all. Opinions are currency. Loudness is mistaken for leadership. But Confucius warned against this illusion. He believed that speech should never be ornamental, it should be instrumental. Words should carry direction, not decoration. When you speak to be liked, you give away power. You place your identity in the hands of others. Every laugh, every nod becomes a form of validation you begin to depend on. This is how victims speak. The leader, however, understands the gravity of language. He speaks when something must be said, not to fill silence, not to escape awkwardness, not to impress. He speaks to align, to clarify, to anchor the room with meaning. Your voice is a tool, not a toy. Confucius did not advocate silence for the sake of silence. He advocated restraint as a form of mastery. He believed that speech, when rare, becomes weighty. That the words you withhold are just as powerful as the words you choose to release. Ask yourself, do I speak to reveal ego? Or to reveal truth? Do I speak to connect? Or to control? When you begin filtering your words through this lens, people will notice, even if you say less. They will lean in, not because you are loud, but because they feel your words come from stillness, not ego. And in a world addicted to attention, stillness is revolutionary. 3. Lead yourself first, the Confucian chain of command. Cultivate the self, then order the household. Only then can one govern a nation and bring peace to the world. Modern leadership is obsessed with outward influence, managing teams, guiding others, building empires. But Confucius reversed the sequence completely. He taught that leadership begins inwardly. Before you expect others to listen, ask, have you disciplined your own habits? Before you correct someone else's behavior, ask, have you corrected your own thinking? The victim looks outward for validation. The leader looks inward for refinement. In Confucian philosophy, there is a sacred hierarchy of influence. First, you lead your mind. Then, you lead your emotions. Then, your actions. Then, your environment. And only after that do you attempt to lead others. If you reverse this order, you fall into chaos. You become the person who preaches wisdom but lives in confusion. The one who demands discipline but cannot resist impulses. The one who asks for loyalty but cannot commit to personal structure. True leadership is not imposed. It is emitted, from the inside out. And that means when life feels overwhelming, do not try to fix the world. Fix your room. Fix your routine. Fix your state of mind. Then watch how the external world slowly mirrors your internal clarity. 4. Detach from praise and blame. The noble man is not moved by praise, nor shaken by blame. This is one of Confucius's most misunderstood teachings. Because we live in a world that thrives on feedback. Hearts rise and fall with every comment, every like, every reaction. But a leader cannot be governed by the emotions of the crowd. Praise, when overvalued, becomes a leash. You do more of what gets you applause even if it strays from your principles. Blame, when overreacted to, becomes a shackle. You avoid difficult decisions because you fear disapproval more than you fear mediocrity. Confucius taught that a noble person should remain steady. Not because he is numb, but because he knows that truth is not always immediately rewarded. Sometimes, the right decision is misunderstood. Sometimes, the clear path brings resentment from those who preferred your confusion. A victim needs permission to act. A leader acts with purpose, then allows time to reveal the wisdom in his choices. This is not arrogance. It is integrity. It is knowing that leadership often means being misjudged in the short term to be respected in the long term. When you detach from external noise, your decisions begin to rise from principle, not pressure. And that, Confucius taught, is what makes a person truly unshakable. 5. Build influence without demanding attention. Do not seek to be known. Seek to be worth knowing. In today's culture, visibility is currency. Everyone wants to be seen, followed, praised. But Confucius warned that the loudest man is rarely the wisest. And the man who constantly seeks to be known will often compromise his soul in the process. Victim thinking says, "No one sees me, so I must speak louder." But the leader thinks, "Let me refine myself until my presence speaks for me." There is a type of quiet presence that alters a room. It does not require explanation. It does not beg for attention. It simply is, clear, grounded, intentional. Confucius believed that such presence was cultivated in solitude. In how you speak when no one is listening. In how you move when there is no reward. In how you treat others when there is no audience. This is where real gravity comes from. You do not need to prove your value if you carry yourself with value. You do not need to beg to be respected if you already live by standards that command respect. The tragedy of victim thinking is this: it confuses attention with authority. But attention fades. Authority is built. Confucius would ask, "Are you performing for the moment? Or are you preparing for the decade?" Build slowly. Move quietly. Let your presence lead before your words ever do. 6. Learn to filter, not just feel, the discipline of perception. The wise man understands what he sees. The fool sees what he feels. Feelings are real. But they are not always true. Confucius knew that truth must be filtered, not swallowed whole. Yet many live as emotional vessels, filled by whatever enters them. They do not investigate their reactions. They do not question their assumptions. They believe that pain must mean injustice, that offense must mean attack, that discomfort must mean danger. This is victim thinking. Leadership begins where emotional discipline begins. Not by denying what you feel, but by learning to interrogate it. Why am I reacting this way? Is this response tied to the present moment, or to something older? What narrative am I attaching to this experience, and is that narrative accurate? Confucius taught that the greatest wisdom is self-clarity. He believed that perception is a skill, not a gift. And without developing this skill, a person remains vulnerable to manipulation, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. The leader is a student of patterns, not just a victim of feelings. He watches how people respond under stress. He listens more than he speaks. He notices what others overlook. And in doing so, he becomes a mirror able to reflect the truth without distortion. People trust those who are clear, not those who are emotionally volatile. To lead, then, is not to feel less. It is to feel accurately. To master perception as both a shield and a compass. 7. Make peace with responsibility. He who blames others has not begun his journey. He who blames himself has taken the first step. He who blames no one has arrived. Responsibility is heavy. That is why most people avoid it. It forces you to stop pointing outward and begin repairing inward. Victim thinking clings to blame. It finds comfort in stories of injustice, betrayal, unfairness, because those stories remove the burden of action. But Confucius believed that freedom is found on the other side of responsibility. When you own your response, you own your future. When you take responsibility for your time, your emotions, your reactions, your patterns, you stop being reactive, and you start becoming deliberate. This is not about guilt. It is about power. Because as long as someone else is responsible for your condition, then someone else holds your keys. Blame is easy. Responsibility is sacred. Leaders carry responsibility not because they enjoy the weight, but because they know what that weight shapes. It sharpens decision-making. It forces reflection. It demands growth. And most importantly, it builds trust because people follow those who take ownership, even under pressure. Victims seek comfort. Leaders seek accountability. And in that search, they gain control not over others, but over themselves. Confucius did not call for perfection. He called for unshakable ownership. 8. Choose clarity over comfort. The noble man prefers the truth, even if it wounds. The petty man prefers comfort, even if it deceives. Most people do not want truth. They want validation. They want to be told they are right, that they are good, that they are enough, regardless of what the mirror reflects. But truth does not flatter. It refines. It strips away illusion so something stronger can take its place. Confucius believed that clarity was the highest form of compassion because when you see yourself clearly, you can improve, not just affirm. Victim thinking is addicted to comfort. It avoids difficult conversations. It avoids hard choices. It avoids feedback, challenge, and silence because these things threaten the fragile sense of self built on external approval. But leaders crave clarity. They want to know what is working, and what is not. They welcome hard feedback, because it reveals the path forward. They listen to discomfort not as an enemy, but as a signal that growth is near. If something is not working in your life, look at it. If your relationships are draining, question them. If your habits are hollow, change them. Do not protect the ego. Protect the mission. And the mission cannot survive if it is built on falsehoods. Comfort is what keeps people average. Clarity is what builds nations. Choose clarity, even when it stings. 9. Respect timing more than emotion. To do the right thing at the wrong time is still the wrong thing. Emotions move quickly. Wisdom moves slowly. Confucius observed that many failures in life do not happen because people chose the wrong goal, they happened because people acted at the wrong time. They were impatient. They were provoked. They were desperate to be seen, heard, or validated. And so they acted too soon, too loudly, too blindly. The victim is ruled by urgency. He believes every feeling must lead to immediate action. but the leader watches the rhythm of the moment. He understands that the right decision made too early is just as dangerous as the wrong decision made too late. Confucian wisdom teaches that timing is not about delay, it is about alignment. You must align your words with readiness, your actions with purpose, your influence with receptivity. This is what separates reaction from strategy. A leader does not always speak first. He speaks when the room is quiet enough to truly hear. He does not push his way forward. He moves when the path reveals itself. Do not confuse emotion with urgency. Sometimes the wisest move is to wait. Not because you are passive, but because you are prepared. And when the moment comes, you move with force, not hesitation. 10. Let actions define you, not intentions. The path to virtue lies not in what one means, but in what one does. Intentions are invisible. And while they may offer comfort to the self, they rarely carry meaning for others. Victims constantly explain themselves. They say, "I meant well," or "that was not my intention," or "I was trying." But Confucius taught that the noble person does not rely on explanations. He lets his actions speak. Why? Because actions are the only evidence the world can see. They are where principles take form, where values become visible, where thoughts leave the realm of theory and enter the space of accountability. Leaders understand this deeply. They do not demand credit for effort, they build results. They do not ask for applause for trying, they improve silently. They do not cling to excuses, they move forward with clarity. This principle demands a painful truth: no one is responsible for interpreting your heart. The burden of translation is on you. Confucius believed that character was built not through grand declarations, but through small consistencies, showing up when you say you will. Speaking the truth even when it is inconvenient. Delivering what you promised even when no one is watching. In a world where many say the right things but live the wrong way, let your behavior be your signature. Let your life prove your values. Because real leaders do not need to say who they are, others already know. 11. Observe before you engage. See clearly before you act. Listen deeply before you speak. In the Confucian tradition, attention is preparation. To observe is not passive, it is strategic. It allows you to see what others miss, to read the room, to recognize hidden motives, to detect who is sincere and who is performing. Victims rush into every conversation, every conflict, every opportunity. They feel compelled to insert themselves, to prove, to correct, to impress. But the leader waits. Not out of fear, but out of precision. He listens to tone more than to words. He watches energy more than declarations. He asks questions not to challenge, but to understand the battlefield before he moves. This makes his presence feel powerful, because when he finally speaks, it carries weight. It is not reaction. It is calculation. Not manipulation, but timing. Confucius believed that those who speak too soon often regret what they say. But those who watch first can tailor their message to reality, not assumption. In any negotiation, relationship, or confrontation, the person who observes first gains the upper hand. Why? Because people reveal more when they think you are silent. Because silence gives you information. Because space allows truth to rise. A leader is not eager to interrupt. He is eager to understand. So the next time you feel the need to prove yourself, pause. You may gain more by saying nothing than by saying everything. 12. Lead by standards, not by sympathy. Govern the people with virtue. Guide them with ritual. They will have shame, and they will correct themselves. Sympathy is not the foundation of wise leadership. Sympathy without structure becomes enabling. And enabling breeds weakness. Confucius never taught us to lead by emotion. He taught us to lead by standards, through ritual, example, and unwavering principle. Victim thinking often disguises itself as compassion. It says, "I do not want to be harsh," or "I do not want them to feel bad," or "let me carry their burden." But true compassion is not found in lowering expectations. It is found in calling people higher. The leader does not adjust the bar for comfort. He holds the bar steady so others may rise to it. In your relationships, your work, your community, ask yourself, do I hold to my standards when it becomes inconvenient? Do I reward loyalty, growth, and consistency? Or do I bend my principles to avoid discomfort? Sympathy says, "I understand." Leadership says, "I see you. I believe in more. Let us rise together." One is emotional release. The other is emotional refinement. To lead is not to make others feel good. To lead is to make others become good, starting with yourself. Confucius did not call for cruelty. He called for clarity. Because when people know what you stand for, they know how to grow beside you. 13. Transcend the role, become the root. When the root is firm, the branches flourish. You may carry a title. You may carry a burden. You may carry pain from being underestimated, unseen, or misused. But Confucius would tell you, do not become defined by the role the world assigns you. Do not live to please those who are blind to your depth. Do not spend your energy defending your place. Spend it becoming the root, the unshakable center from which everything else grows. A victim asks, "How do they see me?" A leader asks, "What am I becoming?" regardless of who is watching. The root does not announce itself. It grounds itself. It does not chase recognition. It becomes essential because without it, the tree collapses. To transcend the role means this: you no longer need validation to lead. You no longer ask permission to be powerful. You no longer wait for a better world, you become the foundation of one. And this is the ultimate Confucian idea: true influence is not loud. It is deep. True power is not positional. It is personal. True leadership is not about being followed. It is about being anchored in character, in virtue, in clarity. If you have spent your life feeling overlooked, used, underestimated, that is not a sign you are weak. It is a sign you have not yet reclaimed the authority of your own mind. The teachings of Confucius are not relics of a lost world. They are mirrors. They reflect who we are when all noise fades. They remind us that power does not come from performance. It comes from stillness, from structure, from truth lived quietly over time. The victim reacts. The leader reflects. The victim waits for fairness. The leader prepares for reality. The victim speaks to be heard. The leader speaks to build. And most of all, the victim breaks under pressure. But the leader bends, sharpened by experience, not shattered by it. Let others seek to be seen. You seek to see clearly. Let others chase titles. You seek to become the root. Let others escape discomfort. You use it to forge discipline. Because in a world filled with noise, the one who thinks like a leader, not with ego, but with essence, will always rise, even in silence. That is Confucian wisdom. And now, it is yours.